This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, and faith-focused feature stories with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the broadcast. China rolled out the red carpet today for President Trump and his historic two-day state visit. Correspondent Jonathan Hunt gets us started from Beijing.
The two leaders of the world's two biggest economies have already held an important bilateral meeting. Among the thorny issues discussed, tech, trade, artificial intelligence, Taiwan, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, and the wider war with Iran.
China is Iran's largest trading partner and may use Taiwan as a bargaining chip to help us end the war. Reporter Aisha Hasni is traveling with the president.
President Xi stressed to President Trump that the Taiwan question is the most important issue in China-U.S. relations. And there has been some thinking that China may have asked for concessions when it came to Taiwan in exchange for perhaps offering help with the Iran conflict.
South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham believes China is propping up bad actors on the world stage, including Iran and Russia, and we need to hold their feet to the fire on this.
Xi could pick up the phone and end the Russian-Ukraine war. He could pick up the phone and end the Iran conflict if he chose to. Without China buying Iran oil, they would be out of business. And if China continues to do this without paying a price for disrupting the world, then we will have made a huge mistake.
Xi warned Trump today that differences over Taiwan could lead to conflict. For decades, the U.S. has declined to recognize China's claim over Taiwan. Despite the Taiwanese tension, Trump today called Xi a friend and a great leader.
Whenever we had a problem, we worked that out very quickly. We're going to have a fantastic future together.
Xi and Trump both agreed at the talks that Iran must never acquire a nuclear weapon and the Strait of Hormuz must remain open. Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
The Chinese have ships stuck in the Persian Gulf. It's a huge source of instability. It threatens to destabilize Asia more than any other part of the world. It's in their interest to resolve this. We hope to convince them to play a more active role.
Today's get-together in the Great Hall of the People was followed by a tour of the 600-year-old Temple of Heaven and then a lavish state banquet in the Forbidden City. Mr. Trump will wrap up his trip to China tomorrow. Other news today, a British commercial ship anchored off the coast of the United Arab Emirates was seized and is currently headed toward Iranian waters. This comes a day after an Indian-flagged ship was attacked by Iran off the coast of Oman. Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen warns there may be arrests by ICE agents at this summer's FIFA World Cup games right here in the United States.
We're not there to go round up mass individuals, but we are always looking for the worst of the worst. We're going to continue to do that.
Upwards of 1 million foreign tourists will flock to these United States to see soccer games in nearly a dozen American cities from June 11th through July 19th. A CIA whistleblower is making shocking claims of a COVID-19 cover-up. Special Operations Officer James Erdman telling a Senate committee yesterday that the pandemic point man, Dr. Anthony Fauci, tried to influence intel analysis about the origins of the coronavirus. Former South Carolina lawyer Alex Murdaugh will get a new trial. His murder convictions were overturned yesterday by the South Carolina Supreme Court. The court says a county clerk improperly influenced the jury. This is how one juror described it.
She came in and she was, like I said, it's going to be epic. And then she went on to say how we were all going to be famous and this is, just the trial of the century. I was just kind of like, did she really just say that?
The clerk reportedly told jurors she planned to write a book about the trial. The 57-year-old Murdaugh was convicted in 2023 for killing his wife and son. That high-profile case has been the subject of several books, podcasts, and documentaries. High winds knocked out power and triggered a massive dust storm yesterday in Utah. The ferocious wind nearly blew over this woman in Salt Lake City.
The wind, oh my goodness, so loud. And I was just like, what is going on? I'm from the Midwest, so I was like, this is tornado weather.
A wind gust of 75 miles an hour reported in Logan, Utah. The weather creating problems as well at the Salt Lake City International Airport. Still to come on the Noon Report for a Thursday, the plight of the poor in the Parlor City. Public schools are losing pupils, and Buffalo remembers 4 years later.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams calling for Dab of Drab this afternoon. We'll have forecast details up in 10.
All right, Kevin, thank you very much. Checking the stories making news across New York and Pennsylvania. Today marks 4 years since the Top Supermarket massacre in Buffalo, New York. The racially charged shooting left 10 black shoppers dead and 3 others wounded. A living memorial to honor those victims will be constructed less than a mile away from the crime scene. It'll include 10 interconnected pillars with the names of those killed on it, as well as the names of the shooting survivors. Events are planned today throughout the Queen City to mark the somber anniversary. There's a memorial happening at 2 o'clock this afternoon at the Top store on Jefferson Avenue, where this shooting happened 4 years ago today. The beating death of a homeless man in Binghamton, New York is raising awareness about the plight of the poor in the Parlor City. Broome County Executive Jason Garner.
It's just a tragedy all around, and we have to do better.
5 teenagers accused of killing a 45-year-old unhoused individual 2 weeks ago. That grisly crime has left the city shaken still.
We can no longer just allow homelessness to exist in our city.
Binghamton City Council member Rebecca Rathmel says there needs to be meaningful community conversations on homelessness to try and find a path forward.
In 2024, we saw over 2,400 individuals access emergency shelter. Locally, that's the highest number of residents experiencing homelessness in the county since the state started tracking that data in 2018.
Rathmel tells Spectrum News a major part of solving the homelessness epidemic is to provide affordable housing.
Only housing ends homelessness more than anything else. Homelessness is a housing problem.
Once again, Broome County Executive Jason Garner.
It's frustrating that it can't happen faster. I mean, if I could wave a magic wand and we'd have housing today for anybody that wanted housing, we do it.
Binghamton city leaders are expanding access to emergency shelters and have even started using hotels to house the homeless. A Western New York hospital is ending labor and delivery services. Newark Wayne Community Hospital in Newark will also discontinue newborn nursery and postpartum services. That hospital cites changing community needs, declining delivery rates, and ongoing workforce challenges for the closures, which will happen in late September or early fall. Newark Wayne, by the way, is the only hospital in Wayne County. After years of delays, hundreds of millions of federal dollars are finally headed to Pennsylvania hospitals. Family Life's Brian Query.
The Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania says hospitals across the Commonwealth will soon receive $572 million in long-awaited COVID-19 reimbursements from FEMA. The funding is meant to help cover pandemic-related expenses, including patient care, protective equipment, and emergency operational changes hospitals made during the height of the crisis. Hospital leaders say medical systems were forced to rapidly transform operations during the pandemic while absorbing major financial losses. Some health systems say the federal funds could arrive within the next month or two. Brian Query, Family Life News.
Thank you, Brian. The final defendant in the beating death of an inmate at the Mid-State Correctional Facility near Utica, New York, has pled guilty. Former prison guard Thomas Eck admitted he tampered with evidence related to the death of Messiah Nantwi at the hands of corrections officers last March. Eck will be sentenced to a year in prison this July. A new Cornell University study shows 90% of New York schools have seen a drop in enrollment the past decade. The decline comes as debate heats up over school choice in the Empire State. Rochester City Councilman Michael Patterson tells Spectrum News New York needs to invest more in charter schools.
If you want more students to participate and choose your school, provide more options. I don't understand how you can be afraid to compete.
Adam Urbanski, president of the Rochester Teachers Association, says there are several reasons why public schools are losing students. A big one is moms and dads are having fewer children.
You know, there are young people. You listen to newlywed people, younger adults who are thinking, can I afford a child or another child?
Today in New York, there are approximately 2 million students enrolled in K through 12 schools. That's a loss of nearly 300,000 students from 10 years ago. Pennsylvania schools are now required to offer CPR training and have automated external defibrillators at all high school sporting events. Governor Shapiro signed Greg Moyer's law yesterday. It's designed to address and prevent sudden cardiac arrest in young athletes, and it's named after an East Stroudsburg sophomore who suffered a heart attack and died during a boys' basketball game. New York environmental activists want state lawmakers to put a temporary moratorium on the construction of any new data mining operations. Supporters cite concerns over noise pollution, air pollution, and energy costs. Cheryl Cordes led a group of about 100 protesters at the Capitol yesterday.
You want billionaires to come back to New York City to increase the tax base? Stop giving tax incentive to billionaires to pollute our community.
Cordes lives in Alabama, New York, where a massive $19.5 million, 2.5 million square foot data mining center could take shape soon. State Senator Kristen Gonzalez telling Spectrum News,
this fight is bigger than just individual data centers. It's literally a fight with big tech because they have been defining and setting the rules for how they operate and how they profit, and we have been living with the consequences.
Gonzalez chairs the Senate Internet and Technology Committee, and she's sponsoring a bill that would suspend any more data mining operations in the Empire State for at least the next 3 years. Pennsylvania politicians are raising concerns about political violence after an alleged online threat targeting several state legislators. State police say a Lebanon County man posted violent threats against 20 lawmakers, including legislative leaders. Cops say this guy, 42-year-old Adam Berryhill, referenced a so-called Memorial Day operation and discussed shootings in his social media posts. Sports news next. It's the 2-minute drill on the Family Life Noon Report.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, with less than 3 minutes left in the game, the Detroit Pistons held a 9-point lead, but Cleveland roared back to tie the game on a 9-0 run and then won it in overtime, 117-113. James Harden scored 30 points. Donovan Mitchell scored 7 of his 21 in the extra session, so the Cavs are up 3-2 over Detroit. Hey, you want to talk about roaring back? How about the Colorado Avalanche? We've switched to hockey now. The Wild took a 3-0 lead over the Avs in the first period, but Parker Kelly scored midway through the second to make it 3-1. Then in the third, Jack Drury scored with 3.5 minutes to play to make it 3-2. With their net empty, Colorado's Nathan McKinnon found the back of the net with 1:23 seconds left in regulation, 3-3 now. And then in overtime, Brett Kulak drove home the game winner. The Avs are moving on, eliminating Minnesota 4-3. To baseball, the Mets walked it off against Detroit on an RBI single in the 10th inning by Carson Bench. 3-2 the final. In Baltimore, the Yankees could not get anything going. They were blanked by the Orioles 7-zip. The Red Sox even up their series with the Phillies, collecting a 3-1 victory. That snaps Philadelphia's 3-game winning streak. The Pirates got blasted by Colorado 10-4 in that game. Jack McCarthy had the first unassisted double play by a left fielder in 13 years. McCarthy caught a sinking line drive on a full sprint and then continued on to touch second base for the twin killing. That is a look at sports.
What a play. Thank you, Randy. Still to come on the Noon Report. East meets West in Beijing. Murdoch murder verdict overturned and a warm-up for the weekend. Kevin Williams after this.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stone Street. What does the 16th century German theologian Martin Luther have to do with our Bill of Rights? The answer might surprise you. 505 years ago, at the Diet of Worms, when asked to denounce and recant his reformist views, Luther said this, quote, "Unless I am convinced by the testimony of the Scriptures or by clear reason, I am bound by the Scriptures I have quoted, and my conscience is captive to the Word of God. I cannot and I will not recant anything, since it is neither safe nor right to go against conscience. Here I stand. I can do no other. God help me. Amen." While people often remember the whole "here I stand" part and Luther's reliance on Scripture and reason, what's often missed is his appeal to conscience. It's neither safe nor right to go against it, Luther said, especially when conscience is captive to the will of God. You see, Luther believed that God did establish his church and the state, and that each were given authority to regulate behavior in different areas and in different ways. But neither had authority over conscience, Luther believed. Only God did. Luther's words echo ideas that go back to the very early days of the church. In the 2nd century, Tertullian argued that the imperial government should allow religious liberty, since only worship offered voluntarily would please God. Forcing people to worship was both pointless and hypocritical, he believed. Other church fathers made similar arguments. And of course, there are the words of Jesus, to render to Caesar what's Caesar's and to God what's God's. That also underscores to whom our conscience belongs. So worship is owed to God, not to Caesar. Thus, Caesar has no right to interfere with conscience. The same thinking eventually made its way into the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution begins, quote, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof." Now, in the language from that period, an establishment of religion referred to setting up a state church. And part of the reason Congress was prohibited from doing that is because so many states already had state churches, and the framers didn't want a national church to conflict with the states. But the framers also wanted religion to flourish in this new country. They believed that's best accomplished within a free marketplace of ideas. In other words, only if there were true freedom of conscience could churches compete for adherents. To ensure this free marketplace of ideas, other provisions were also included in the First Amendment. Congress was prohibited from abridging freedom of speech and of the press and of peaceful assembly and of petitioning the government. The framers believed that each of these were essential parts of an unalienable right to liberty. But they also believed that truth would eventually prevail if people were free to present and to debate their views in public. The reason that the freedom of religion is the first freedom of the First Amendment is because every other freedom depends on it. The right to hold beliefs and to express them is foundational to the rest of the amendment. Without that freedom, we could not write, speak, assemble, petition the government in support of any beliefs, opinions, or ideas that the government did not first approve. And all of this brings us back to Martin Luther and his insistence that only God has authority over conscience. Our founders were right to highlight that any unalienable rights we have are given to us by God, and then to include liberty among those rights. Our conscience is a gift from God, and we are answerable to Him for how we use it. The rights listed in the First Amendment are not granted by it. Rather, they were recognized and protected by it. It's our responsibility before God, who gave us liberty, to use these freedoms wisely and for His glory. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stone Street with Breakpoint. And for more resources or to share this commentary with others, go to colsoncenter.org/radio.
Thank Thanks, John. Outside we go next. It's weather where you live with meteorologist Kevin Williams.
Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Our call for this day is for cloudy skies to prevail for most. A few sunny breaks here and there. A brief shower bit of drizzle and cool, high temps 50s. A fair amount of cloudiness tonight. Spot rain, shower, a little drizzle, low temps 40s. Clouds break a little tomorrow. There could still be a shower. It's a milder day tomorrow. High in the 60s. It's warm on Saturday with some sunshine. High temperature Saturday in the 70s, but showers arrive at the end of the day near Lake Erie. There'll be some showers across the region Saturday night.
All right, Kevin, thank you. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. I'm your host, Bob Price. Lots to get to Thursday, May 14th. Presidents Trump and Xi met face-to-face in the Chinese capital today. Correspondent Garrett Hake has the latest from Beijing.
This two-day summit getting underway today with an elaborate mix of pageantry and politics. The Chinese rolling out a literal red carpet for President Trump.
It's the first visit by a U.S. president to China in nearly a decade.
It's an honor to be with you. It's an honor to be your friend, and the relationship between China and the USA is going to be better than ever before.
The BBC's Laura Ricker has more on the high-stakes talks.
The two leaders talked for 2 hours, far longer than expected. President Xi warned Donald Trump that the issue of Taiwan, which Beijing claims as part of its territory, could bring the two countries into conflict. He is pushing for a delay or a reduction in U.S. arms sales to the self-governing island.
Both countries agreed Iran can never be allowed to have a nuclear bomb, and the Strait of Hormuz must remain open. National security expert Dr. Rebecca Grant.
China agreeing that Iran should not have a toll booth in the strait. Now, are they going to do anything concrete to help? I doubt it. But it looks like Trump has put some pressure on China vis-a-vis Iran. Don't forget, China supported Iran's terror regime with oil purchases for so long. I'm glad to see that perhaps turning around.
President Xi told President Trump that the U.S. and China should become partners, not rivals. Mr. Trump will wrap up his historic two-day stay in the communist country tomorrow. Inflation nation. Prices on everything from groceries to gasoline are going up, and it's got a lot of Americans concerned.
As President Trump takes the world stage, here at home, the political fallout from rising prices for Americans growing. With the war in Iran restricting the world's oil supply and sending gas prices skyrocketing.
Nobody is safe from this.
Consumers feeling the pinch at the grocery store, too. While some staples like eggs have actually gone down in cost over the year, others have jumped significantly. Fresh produce prices up 6.5%, and ground beef going up 14.8%.
NBC's Ryan Noble says grocery prices are at their highest level in nearly 4 years. The White House is cracking down on Medicaid and Medicare fraud following reports of abuse in Minnesota. Vice President Vance yesterday announced the Trump administration's withholding more than $1 billion in government funds for California.
For those states that refuse to get serious about fraud, we are going to turn off that anti-fraud money. And if we continue to find problems, we can turn off other resources within their state Medicaid programs as well.
Vance says his anti-fraud task force will be in Maine today. He adds this is not a red state or a blue state issue. It's a good governance issue. There's a new bid to redraw congressional maps in the South. Correspondent Jonathan O'Brien.
Georgia is now the latest state to move ahead with redistricting following a recent Supreme Court ruling on gerrymandering. Governor Kemp says because voting is already underway, the new maps will apply for the 2028 election.
You know, the Supreme Court rule, which I applaud and have said the whole time that, listen, we're going to have to redraw the maps. It was not a matter of if, but when.
Democrats are vowing to fight any redistricting plan. Jonathan O'Brien, Atlanta.
A stunning reversal in South Carolina. 57-year-old attorney Alex Murdaugh has had his murder convictions overturned by the state's highest court. It's ruled a court clerk interfered with the jury in one of the nation's most closely watched criminal trials in years. Murdaugh was convicted in 2023 of killing his wife and son. The South Carolina defendant now gets a new trial. A woman who wrote a children's book on grief after the death of her husband has now been sentenced to life in prison for killing him.
A judge
judge sealing the fate of Utah mother Corey Richens, who was convicted of killing her husband Eric Richens with a fatal dose of fentanyl in 2022. The mother of three didn't hide her feelings in court on Wednesday, at times rolling her eyes, making facial expressions, and also breaking down in tears as she spoke directly to her sons.
You may think you hate me, and that's okay. When the day comes that you're ready, I will be here for you.
Social workers read powerful statements on behalf of Richens' sons, who were 9, 7, and 5 when their father died.
I want her to go to prison forever. If she got out, I would be so scared.
Richens has always maintained her innocence.
I will not be blamed for something I did not do.
That report from correspondent Carter Evans today. A New Hampshire woman says Planet Fitness canceled her membership after she reported a man in the women's locker room. It happened last month at a Planet Fitness in Concord, New Hampshire. The woman reported the incident to a gym employee who told her there was nothing he could do about it. When she raised the issue again, the Planet Fitness employee called her transphobic. Later, the gym's manager called the woman to tell her that her membership had been revoked. You're listening to the Noon Report for Thursday on Family Life.
This is Faith Under Fire. We take you straight to the front lines of religious battlegrounds. I'm your host, Sarah Harnish. With me today, Alliance Defending Freedom Senior Counsel, Chelsea Yeoman. We're talking mail-order abortion drugs. The future of abortion and a landmark case goes before the U.S. Supreme Court today after an emergency appeal. Is it legal to send abortion-inducing drugs through the mail? The state of Louisiana says no. The FDA says yes. Alliance Defending Freedom is representing Louisiana. Chelsea, tell me more about these drugs.
This is, as you know, such an important case for the lives of thousands of children who hang in the balance here in their battle against abortion drugs and the abortion drug traffickers who are just pumping drugs as fast and hard as possible as they can across state lines. So just a reminder, the abortion rate is the highest it's been in 15 years. Yes, even after Roe was overturned, over 1.1 million children lost their lives to abortion, and that's because of these drugs. Women can now go online, eBay sells them. I mean, you can get them almost anywhere and order the drugs. They're shipped directly to her doorstep. And thanks to, the Biden administration's FDA ruling in 2023, there's no physician care required or medical care required for her, or things like an in-person visit, ruling out complications like whether or not she's ectopic or her blood type is Rh negative, which can be detrimental to her health as well.
So a little background on the case. Alliance Defending Freedom and the state of Louisiana sued the FDA to make it illegal to mail abortion-inducing drugs in all 50 states. It's why you guys went after the FDA instead of one company or one state. A court in Louisiana ruled in favor of the state and against the FDA. The FDA appealed it, and now it's in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, and we could get word sometime today. They're supposed to be looking at it today. So tell me what happens next.
What's on the table is right now before the court whether or not those protections should be reinstated for women and their children, where, these drugs can no longer be mailed by doctors across state lines who've never even met the woman. They're mailing them to parents. They're mailing them to men, to abusive partners, you name it. And instead to say to the Supreme Court, this is a matter of utmost urgency. Please reinstate those protections for women while you resolve the rest of this case. Another thing to note, last week the Supreme Court said we're going to hold on to the Fifth Circuit stay. The Fifth Circuit said we have to have in-person only, no more mail order while we resolve this case. The Supreme Court put everything on hold when Danco Laboratories and Big Pharma appealed. But the Supreme Court, it just put a hold on that order until they can resolve this case. And so the briefing was filed. They've extended the deadline. We are anticipating and hopeful that we will hear from the Supreme Court where they could do a number of things.
So what are the options on the table? As of right now, the drugs can or cannot be mailed. And what are the options the court has?
Right now, temporarily, the drugs are still allowed to be mailed. And the court could do a number of things. They could say, after considering all of the briefing, Big Pharma has been able to brief, we at ADF and our dear partner, the Attorney General of Louisiana, who is an absolute incredible warrior for life. Her name is Liz Muriel, but they've appealed. We've put all of our briefing before the Supreme Court, and they'll either determine to allow mail order drugs to continue while the case is resolved, to stop mail order drugs, which is certainly what's best, or to take up the entire case in its entirety, which I think that would be the ultimate goal, is by Thursday for these justices to say this issue of whether or not the FDA in 2023 under Biden can remove safety protocols for women without studying the impact of that and increase the mass death that is resulting from abortion drugs by mail, which, by the way, is a violation of federal law. It's a felony to mail these drugs already. We want the Supreme Court to resolve that issue, hopefully in our favor. And we know it's a felony to mail these drugs. The court, it's incumbent upon them to resolve this issue, which continues to come up to them once and for all. So that's our hope. Things will move very quickly. If they do take up the entire case, we would have a final ruling by end of June. So that's really important. But at least in the interim, we need these drugs to stay out of our mail, offline, until this case is resolved. And I do think it's worth noting that the FDA failed to appeal. This is really big pharma that appealed. The FDA has acknowledged that the 2023 safety removals for women were probably unlawful. They've acknowledged that in the lower court briefing. And so I think the FDA even knows that it misstepped under the Biden administration. They're not really defending that right now at the Supreme Court, which is very important.
Learn more at adflegal.org.
Thank you very much, Sarah. The name of the program, Faith Under Fire. It comes your way every Thursday during the Noon Report or online anytime at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and FamilyLife.org. And finally, from us for a Thursday, it's not for the faint of heart, folks, but if you dare, there is a dance we all get to celebrate today. Correspondent Bree Tennis.
Get to the middle of the room. Stand up straight and do the chicken dance, as it's National Dance Like a Chicken Day. The song's German. It actually started as the duck dance, but somebody lost the duck costume. 4 easy steps, beaks, wings, wiggles, and claps. Anyone can do it. So today shows some support for the dance that's a staple at weddings, Oktoberfest, and likely your office today. I'm Bree Tennis.
Yeah, there's no wrong way to do the chicken dance. I take that back. There might be. Thank you, Brie. And that's our world. Not gonna dance, folks. No way. The world we live in. Thursday, the 14th of May. I'm Bob Price. Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report. Heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.